My name is Brandon, and I need to tell you a story that changed everything I thought I knew about love, sacrifice, and the people we trust most. This is the story of how I spent 22 months working 3 jobs to make my wife Emily's dream of a European vacation come true, only to discover that while I was breaking my back for her happiness, she was breaking our marriage vows with someone else. It all started on a warm Sunday evening in September 2.5 years ago. We were having dinner at Emily's parents' house, something we did every other weekend. Her mother, Patricia Wilson, had made her famous pot roast, and we were all sitting around their old oak dining table that had been in the family for generations. The conversation had drifted to travel, as it often did when Patricia's sister called from Florida, bragging about her latest cruise. "You know what I've always dreamed of?" Emily said suddenly, her eyes lighting up as she set down her fork. "Paris. I've wanted to see the Eiffel Tower since I was a little girl watching those old romantic movies with Mom." Patricia's face immediately brightened. "Oh honey, that would be absolutely wonderful. Remember how we used to watch An American in Paris together when you were little? You'd dance around the living room pretending to be Leslie Caron." Emily's father, Robert, a quiet man who worked maintenance for the city, nodded thoughtfully. "Europe's always seemed like a magical place to me. Never thought we'd be able to afford something like that, though. Trips like that are for rich folks, not people like us." I watched Emily's face fall slightly at her father's words, and something inside me clicked into place. Here was the woman I loved more than anything in the world, the woman who had stood by me through thick and thin, and she had this simple, beautiful dream that seemed impossibly out of reach for our modest middle-class family. What if it didn't have to be just a dream? I heard myself saying. All eyes turned to me. What if, for our 5th wedding anniversary next year, I made it happen? A real European vacation for all of us. Emily's mouth dropped open. "Brandon, are you serious? Do you have any idea how much that would cost?" I didn't actually. But as I looked around that table at the 3 people who had become my family, I knew I would figure it out. "I'll make it work. I promise." That night, after we got home to our small 2-bedroom apartment on Maple Street, Emily and I stayed up until nearly 2 in the morning researching European vacation packages. We discovered that a decent 10-day trip for 4 people, including flights, hotels, and some spending money, would cost somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000. Our combined monthly income was barely $4,000, and after rent, utilities, groceries, and Emily's student loan payments, we were lucky to save $200 a month. But I had made a promise and I intended to keep it. Emily worked as a teller at First National Bank downtown, a job she'd held for 3 years since graduating with her associate's degree in business administration. It was steady work, but the pay was modest. I was a mechanic at Henderson's Auto Repair, fixing everything from oil changes to engine overhauls. I loved working with my hands, solving problems, making things run smoothly again. But like Emily's job, it wasn't going to make us rich. The next Monday morning, I started looking for additional work. I applied everywhere: restaurants, retail stores, delivery companies. Within 2 weeks, I had landed a second job working nights at the Amazon warehouse on the outskirts of town. The work was physical and demanding, but it paid $15 an hour, and they offered as many hours as I wanted. My new schedule was brutal. I'd work at Henderson's from 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, drive home for a quick dinner with Emily, maybe catch an hour of sleep, then head to Amazon for the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. I'd get home just in time to shower and head back to Henderson's. Emily was concerned at first. "Brandon, this is crazy. You're going to kill yourself working like this." "It's only temporary," I assured her. "Just until we have enough saved for the trip. Think about standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, taking pictures with your parents. Think about how happy they'll be." And she would smile and kiss me and tell me how lucky she was to have someone who loved her enough to work so hard for her dreams. After 3 months of the 2-job routine, I realized I was still falling short of my savings goals. The math was simple but depressing. At my current rate, it would take me nearly 3 years to save enough money. Emily would be understanding, but her parents were getting older, and who knew what health issues might arise. I wanted to make this happen sooner rather than later. That's when I found the 3rd job. Peterson's Office Cleaning was always looking for weekend workers. The pay wasn't great, $12 an hour, but they needed someone to clean a small office complex every Saturday and Sunday morning. It meant giving up my weekends, but it would shave almost a year off my savings timeline. Emily wasn't happy about this development. "Brandon, when are we supposed to spend time together? You're either working or sleeping. Just for a while longer, baby. I promise it'll be worth it." Looking back now, this is where things started to change between us, though I was too focused on my mission to notice at the time. Emily began going out more on weekends while I was working. She'd mentioned making friends with some of the other bank employees, Stephanie from loans, Marcus from commercial accounts, and others whose names I half listened to as I rushed between jobs. I'm thinking of taking a yoga class on Thursday evenings, she told me one day about 6 months into my 3-job routine. Stephanie says it's really relaxing, and God knows I could use some stress relief with how crazy our life has become. I thought it was a great idea. Emily deserved some time for herself, some way to unwind. I was usually at Amazon on Thursday nights anyway, so it worked out perfectly. The months blurred together in a haze of work and exhaustion. Wake up, shower, Henderson's quick dinner, nap, Amazon, repeat. Weekends were for Peterson's and trying to catch up on sleep. Emily and I were like ships passing in the night. We'd leave each other little notes, text during breaks, steal a few minutes together here and there. But I was making progress on the savings. Every 2 weeks, I'd deposit my 3 paychecks and watch the Europe fund grow. $500, then $1,000, then $2,000. It was working. Emily would check the balance sometimes and shake her head in amazement. I can't believe you're really doing this. My parents keep asking if you're serious and I tell them yes, but sometimes I wonder if we're both crazy. Crazy in love, I'd say, pulling her close for one of our brief moments together. By the time we'd been married 4 years, I was about halfway to my goal. The savings account showed just over $4,000. Emily had settled into her routine of yoga on Thursdays, girls' nights out on Fridays when I was working, and various social activities on weekends while I cleaned offices. It was around this time that she started mentioning someone named Kevin. There's this guy who comes into the bank sometimes, she said one evening as we grabbed a quick dinner between my shifts. Kevin something. He's an architect from Chicago, working on some big project downtown. He's always so polite and well-dressed. Makes me think about how people can be successful and still be nice, you know? I nodded absently, more focused on scarfing down my sandwich than analyzing Emily's casual observation about a bank customer. If I had been paying closer attention, maybe I would have noticed the slight flush in her cheeks when she mentioned him, or the way she seemed to bring him up in conversation more frequently over the following weeks. Kevin was in again today, she'd say. He asked about our CD rates. Such a professional guy. Or, that architect Kevin left his sunglasses at my window. I had to chase him down in the parking lot to return them. We ended up chatting for a few minutes about the new building they're putting up on 5th Street. I was happy that Emily seemed to be enjoying her job more. She'd been complaining for months about how boring it was, how all the customers were either grumpy or in a hurry. If this Kevin guy was brightening her day with friendly conversation, good for him. The first real warning sign came about 18 months into my 3-job marathon. I had gotten off early from Amazon one Thursday night due to a power outage at the warehouse. It was about 11 p.m., and I was looking forward to surprising Emily by being home when she got back from yoga. But when I got to our apartment, Emily wasn't there. Her car was gone and there was no note. I figured maybe yoga had run late or the group had gone out for coffee afterward. I took a shower and fell asleep on the couch waiting for her. She woke me up around 1:30 in the morning, looking startled to see me. "Brandon, what are you doing here? I thought you worked until 6. Power went out at the warehouse," I mumbled, still half asleep. "How was yoga?" "Oh, it was good. Really good. We tried some new poses tonight, and then a few of us went to that late-night diner on Harrison Street. You know how Stephanie likes to talk. It made perfect sense and I thought nothing more of it. Emily kissed me goodnight and we went to bed." But over the next few weeks, Emily's Thursday yoga sessions seemed to be running later and later. Sometimes she wouldn't get home until after midnight. When I mentioned it, she explained that the instructor had started offering advanced sessions for people who wanted to go deeper into their practice. "It's like meditation in motion," she told me, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "I feel like I'm discovering parts of myself I never knew existed." I was genuinely happy for her. My wife was glowing with newfound confidence and energy. She'd been working out more, paying more attention to her appearance, trying new hairstyles. If yoga was responsible for this positive transformation, then I was all for it. The savings account continued to grow. 5,000, then 6,000. I was getting closer to my goal, but the physical and mental toll was becoming harder to ignore. I'd lost about 15 pounds, developed a persistent cough from the dust at the Amazon warehouse, and sometimes caught myself falling asleep standing up at Henderson's. Emily noticed my declining health and begged me to quit one of the jobs. "Brandon, you're killing yourself. I'd rather never see Paris than watch you work yourself to death." But I was so close. Another few months and I'd have enough for the trip of a lifetime. "I can do this, Em. I promise I'm tougher than I look." "I know you are," she said, running her fingers through my hair. That's what scares me. You're so tough that you won't stop even when you should. That conversation took place on a Sunday evening in late summer, almost 2 years into my European vacation fund project. The next Thursday, Emily left for yoga as usual, but this time something made me pay attention to the details. She was wearing a new dress I'd never seen before, and she'd spent more time on her hair and makeup than usual for a workout class. New outfit for yoga? I asked casually. She glanced down at herself as if just noticing. All this? I got it last week. Thought I should look nice for once instead of just throwing on old gym clothes. It was a reasonable explanation, but something nagged at me. Call it intuition or maybe just exhaustion-induced paranoia, but I found myself thinking about that conversation for the rest of the evening. The breakthrough came entirely by accident 3 weeks later. Emily had been using my tablet to browse Pinterest for home decorating ideas while I was at work. One evening, I picked up the tablet to check my email and discovered that Emily's Instagram account was still logged in. I wasn't snooping, at least not intentionally. I was just trying to get to my email when I noticed the direct message icon showed several unread messages. Without thinking, I tapped on it. The name at the top of the list made my heart skip a beat. Kevin Harrison. My finger hovered over the conversation for a long moment. I knew I shouldn't read my wife's private messages, but something deep in my gut was screaming that I needed to know what was in those texts. I opened the conversation and immediately wished I hadn't. The messages went back months. Dozens and dozens of them, starting innocent enough but quickly becoming intimate, then romantic, then explicit. I sat there in our living room, scrolling through the digital evidence of my wife's affair, feeling like the world was collapsing around me. Kevin Harrison was indeed an architect from Chicago, just as Emily had said. But he was also married with 2 kids, something Emily never mentioned. The messages revealed that he came to our city twice a month for work on a long-term commercial project, and those visits always coincided with Emily's Thursday night yoga sessions. The earliest messages were from 6 months ago, around the time Emily had started mentioning Kevin in casual conversation. They had exchanged numbers after several flirtatious encounters at the bank, and their relationship had escalated quickly from there. I read message after message, each one feeling like a knife twisting in my chest. Emily complaining about how I was never around anymore, how she felt lonely and neglected. Kevin sympathizing, telling her she deserved better, that she was too beautiful and vibrant to be stuck with someone who didn't appreciate her. The most recent messages were the worst. They were making plans. Kevin's project would be finished in 2 months, but instead of ending their affair, they were talking about Emily leaving me and moving to Chicago. Kevin was going to divorce his wife. They would start over together, build the life they both deserved. I've been thinking, one of Emily's recent messages read, maybe this whole situation with Brandon working himself to death is actually a blessing in disguise. It's shown me that we want completely different things out of life. He's so focused on money and practical stuff, but you understand the importance of connection, of really living. Kevin's response, you're an amazing woman, Emily. Any man would be lucky to have you. Brandon doesn't know what he has, but I do. 2 more months and then we can stop sneaking around. I promise I'm going to make you happier than you ever thought possible. I set the tablet down and stared at the wall for I don't know how long. My wife of 4.5 years was planning to leave me for a married man from Chicago. While I was working 18-hour days to save money for her dream vacation, she was dreaming of a different life with someone else. The irony was devastating. All those months I'd been too tired to spend quality time with Emily, too focused on work to notice that she was pulling away from me. I'd been doing it for her. The very sacrifice that was supposed to prove my love had driven her into another man's arms. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next night. I walked around in a daze, going through the motions of my 3 jobs while trying to figure out what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to confront Emily immediately, to have it out in the open so we could either work through it or end it cleanly. But another part of me wasn't ready to face the music. As long as I didn't say anything, I could pretend that maybe I'd misunderstood those messages, that there was some innocent explanation I hadn't considered. For 2 weeks, I lived in this bizarre limbo. Emily continued her Thursday night yoga sessions, continued to kiss me goodbye in the mornings and ask about my day when our paths crossed. She seemed happier than she'd been in months, humming around the apartment, smiling at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Meanwhile, I was dying inside, carrying this terrible knowledge like a weight in my chest. I started making mistakes at work, struggling to concentrate on even simple tasks. My supervisor at Henderson's asked if everything was okay at home. My productivity at Amazon dropped noticeably. The breaking point came on a Wednesday morning, exactly 2 weeks after I discovered the messages. I had just finished my shift at Amazon and was driving home when I decided to take a different route through downtown. I'm not sure why, maybe subconscious suspicion, maybe just random chance. As I waited at a red light on 5th Street, I saw Emily's car parked outside the Hampton Inn. It was 7 in the morning and she should have been getting ready for work at the bank. But there she was, walking out of the hotel lobby with a tall, well-dressed man who matched Kevin Harrison's profile picture perfectly. They kissed goodbye in the parking lot like lovers who had spent the night together. Emily got in her car and drove toward home, while Kevin got into a BMW with Illinois plates and headed toward the highway. I sat through 3 light cycles, watching them go their separate ways, feeling the last of my denial crumble away. My wife wasn't just having an emotional affair. She was sleeping with this man, probably had been for months, while I killed myself working to make her dreams come true. That evening I made a decision. Our 5th wedding anniversary was still 6 weeks away, and I had enough money saved for the European vacation. The flights were booked, the hotels reserved, the whole trip planned down to the last detail. Emily had no idea how close I was to surprising her with the gift she'd always wanted. But now I knew something she didn't know I knew, and I was going to use that knowledge. Instead of confronting her about the affair immediately, I decided to let things play out exactly as I'd planned. I would give Emily and her parents the European vacation for our anniversary, just as I'd promised. But it wouldn't be the gift of love I'd originally intended. It would be something else entirely. Over the next 6 weeks, I continued my routine as if nothing had changed. I worked my 3 jobs, made my final savings deposits, and put the finishing touches on the vacation plans. I booked restaurants, researched tourist attractions, even arranged for a private guide for their day in the Louvre. Emily continued her Thursday night activities with Kevin, unaware that I knew about any of it. She seemed to be getting more excited about something, more energetic and optimistic. Based on the timeline they discussed in their messages, Kevin's project was winding down. Their grand escape plan was approaching. 3 days before our anniversary, I received the final confirmation emails for all the vacation bookings. Everything was paid for and ready to go. Emily and her parents would fly to Paris on Saturday, spend 4 days there, then take the train to Rome for 3 days, and finish with 3 days in Barcelona before flying home. First-class flights, 4-star hotels, all meals and activities included. It represented 22 months of back-breaking work, over $8,000 in savings and countless hours of planning. It was, without question, the most expensive and thoughtful gift I'd ever given anyone. It was also going to be my goodbye. On Friday evening, our anniversary, I came home from work to find Emily had prepared a special dinner. She'd cooked my favorite meal, grilled salmon with roasted vegetables, and set the table with our wedding china. Candles were lit, soft music was playing, and she was wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our first anniversary. "Happy anniversary, baby," she said, kissing me as I walked through the door. 5 years. Can you believe it? It feels like a lifetime, I said, and I meant it, though probably not in the way she interpreted it. Her parents arrived at 7 o'clock as we'd planned. Patricia brought a homemade apple pie and Robert wore his best shirt for the occasion. They were both in high spirits, clearly excited about whatever surprise I had promised them. We ate dinner and made small talk about work, the weather, and local news. Emily seemed nervous about something, which made sense given that she was probably trying to figure out how to tell me she was leaving. Patricia and Robert kept hinting about the big surprise I'd mentioned, clearly hoping for some clue about what it might be. After we finished the pie, I stood up and cleared my throat. 5 years ago today, Emily and I promised to love, honor, and cherish each other for the rest of our lives. I began, looking directly at my wife. I want you all to know that I have honored that promise completely. Every single day of our marriage, I have put Emily's happiness before my own. Emily smiled nervously. Patricia dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. 2.5 years ago, at a dinner just like this one, Emily mentioned that she had always dreamed of seeing Paris. Patricia talked about those old movies they used to watch together, and Robert said that trips like that were for rich folks, not people like us. I reached into the cabinet behind me and pulled out a large envelope, thick with documents and confirmations. That night, I made a promise that I would make Emily's dream come true. For 22 months, I have worked 3 jobs, 7 days a week, saving every extra penny. I have slept 4 hours a night, given up weekends, and pushed my body to its limits, all for one purpose. The room was completely silent. Emily's eyes were wide, staring at the envelope in my hands. I promised Emily a European vacation for our anniversary, and I keep my promises. I handed her the envelope. With shaking hands, she opened it and pulled out the contents. Airline tickets, hotel confirmations, restaurant reservations, tour bookings. Everything needed for 10 days in Europe, all paid for, all ready to go. Patricia gasped and covered her mouth. Robert stood up so quickly he knocked over his chair. Brandon, son, this is incredible. How did you? I mean, this must have cost $8,437, I said quietly. Every cent I could save. Emily was still staring at the papers, her face pale. Brandon, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, I told her. You leave tomorrow morning. All three of you. The taxi will pick you up at 8 a.m. to take you to the airport. Patricia was crying now, reaching over to hug me. Brandon, this is the most generous thing anyone has ever done for us. I can't believe you worked so hard to make this happen. You're like a son to us, Robert added, his voice thick with emotion. Emily, honey, you married a good man. A really good man. But Emily wasn't sharing in her parents' joy. She was looking at me with a strange expression, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Brandon, she said slowly, this is amazing, but why aren't you coming with us? It says 3 tickets here. Because, I said, meeting her eyes directly, I think you'll enjoy it more with just your parents. Besides, I have some things I need to take care of while you're gone. Emily's parents didn't notice the tension in my voice, but Emily did. She studied my face carefully, and I could see the moment when she realized that something was wrong. What kinds of things? She asked. I smiled at her, and it was probably the saddest smile I'd ever managed. Don't worry about it, Em. Just go to Paris. See the Eiffel Tower. Take pictures with your parents. Make those memories you've always wanted. But Brandon, Patricia interjected, surely you can come with us? You've worked so hard for this. You deserve to enjoy it too. I've already enjoyed it, I said. Every day for the past 22 months, knowing that I was working toward making Emily happy, that was my enjoyment. We spent another hour going over the itinerary, discussing the hotels and restaurants I'd booked, looking at photos of all the places they'd be visiting. Emily's parents were over the moon with excitement, but Emily herself seemed distracted, occasionally catching my eye with that same puzzled, worried look. After her parents left, Emily and I were alone in our apartment for what I somehow knew would be the last time as a married couple. Brandon, she said, sitting down on the couch and patting the cushion next to her, we need to talk. Do we? I asked, but I sat down anyway. This trip, it's incredible and I'm grateful, but something feels off. You're acting strange. And the timing is weird with everything that's been going on. What's been going on, Emily? She looked at me for a long moment and I could see her internal struggle. Part of her wanted to confess everything, to clear the air before leaving for Europe. But part of her was probably hoping she could somehow have both enjoy the trip I'd given her and then leave me for Kevin when she got back. I don't know, she said finally. I just feel like we've grown apart over the past couple of years. You're always working and I'm not happy, Brandon. I haven't been happy for a long time. I know, I said simply. You know? Emily, I've been working 3 jobs for almost 2 years to pay for this trip. Do you think I didn't notice that my wife was pulling away from me? Do you think I didn't see that you were finding happiness somewhere else? Her face went white. What are you saying? I'm saying that I hope you enjoy Paris. I hope you and your parents have the time of your lives. You deserve it. But what about us? What about our marriage? I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the street where we'd lived for 3 years. What about it, Emily? Do you want to stay married to me? The silence stretched on for so long that I turned around to look at her. She was crying, but they seemed like tears of relief rather than sadness. I don't know, she whispered. I'm so confused about everything. Then maybe some time apart will help you figure it out, I said. Go to Europe. Think about what you really want. When you get back, we'll talk. That night, Emily packed her suitcase while I slept on the couch. In the morning, I helped load her bags into the taxi and kissed her goodbye for what we both somehow knew might be the last time. Brandon, she said through the taxi window, I do love you. I want you to know that. I love you too, That's why I'm letting you go. While Emily and her parents were flying to Paris, I was driving to downtown to file divorce papers. While they were checking into their luxury hotel near the Champs-Élysées, I was meeting with a lawyer to discuss property division. While they were taking their first photos in front of the Eiffel Tower, I was packing Emily's belongings into boxes. Emily called me twice during the trip. The first time was from Rome, 3 days in. Brandon, this trip is incredible. Everything you planned is perfect. The hotels, the restaurants, the tours. Mom and Dad are having the time of their lives. I'm glad, I said, and I meant it. But I keep thinking about you, she continued. About us. I feel terrible that you're not here to enjoy this. Don't feel terrible, Emily. Just enjoy it. Are you okay? You sound different. I'm fine. We'll talk when you get back. The second call came from Barcelona, the day before they were scheduled to return. Brandon, I need to tell you something, Emily said, her voice shaky. I've made some mistakes. Some big mistakes. When I get home, we need to have a serious conversation about our marriage. Okay, I said. I want to try to fix things between us. If it's not too late. I looked around the apartment, which now contained only my belongings. Emily's clothes were in boxes in the spare bedroom. Her photos had been removed from the walls. Her makeup and toiletries were packed away in a suitcase by the front door. We'll see him. Safe travels. When Emily and her parents returned from Europe, I picked them up at the airport. Patricia and Robert couldn't stop talking about the trip, showing me hundreds of photos on their phones, recounting every meal and every sight they'd seen. Brandon, son, this was the trip of a lifetime, Robert said, shaking my hand vigorously. I can never repay you for this gift. You don't need to repay me, I said. Seeing you both so happy is payment enough. Emily was quieter during the ride home, occasionally catching my eye in the rearview mirror with an unreadable expression. After I dropped her parents off at their house, Emily and I drove home in silence. It wasn't until we pulled into our parking space that she spoke. Brandon, the apartment looks different. Does it? Where are my things? I turned off the engine and looked at her directly. Emily, do you remember what you told me on the phone? About making mistakes and needing to have a serious conversation? She nodded, tears starting to form in her eyes. I need to tell you something too. While you were in Barcelona taking photos with your parents, I was here filing divorce papers. The silence in the car was deafening. You, what? I know about Kevin Harrison, I said quietly. I've known for months. Emily's face crumpled and she began to sob. Oh God, Brandon, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you are. How long have you known? Long enough to plan this trip as a goodbye gift rather than an anniversary present. Emily looked up at me through her tears, confusion mixing with devastation on her face. What do you mean? I mean that I spent 22 months working myself half to death to give you one last perfect memory with your parents before our marriage ended. I wanted you to have Paris, Emily. I wanted you to have that dream, even if I couldn't be part of your future. But I don't want to divorce you, she cried. Kevin and I, it's over. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. When I was in Paris, all I could think about was how you made it possible, how hard you worked for me. I realized that what Kevin and I had wasn't real. It was just escapism. I reached over and took her hand. Emily, I believe that you believe that. But some things can't be fixed. Some trust, once broken, can't be repaired. Please, Brandon. Please don't do this. I'll do anything to make it right. There's nothing to make right, I said. You fell out of love with me. It happens. People grow apart, want different things. The only mistake you made was not being honest about it sooner. That's not true. I never fell out of love with you. Then why Kevin? Why the secret relationship, the lies, the plans to leave? Emily was quiet for a long moment, wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her jacket. Because I was lonely, she whispered. Because you were never here, and when you were so tired that we barely talked. Kevin paid attention to me. He made me feel interesting and attractive and worth spending time with. And now I realize that you were working so hard because you loved me. Kevin was available because he was lying to his wife, sneaking around, stealing time that belonged to his family. There's a big difference. I squeezed her hand gently. Emily, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You are interesting and attractive and worth spending time with. You deserve someone who makes you feel that way every single day, not just when he has a few minutes between his real responsibilities. You make me feel that way. No, I don't. Not anymore. If I did, you wouldn't have needed Kevin in the first place. We sat in the car for another 20 minutes, talking through the logistics of our separation. Emily would stay with her parents for a while. We'd split our modest savings and belongings equitably. The divorce would be uncontested and relatively simple since we had no children and few assets. As we were carrying her boxes from the apartment to her car, Emily asked me one last question. Brandon, do you hate me? I stopped and thought about it seriously. No, Emily. I don't hate you. I'm hurt and I'm disappointed, but I don't hate you. You're not a bad person who did something evil. You're a good person who made some bad choices while trying to deal with a difficult situation. Will you ever forgive me? I already have, I said, and I realized it was true. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened or pretending it was okay. It's about choosing not to carry anger and resentment around with you. I choose not to do that. Emily started crying again. You're a better person than I am. No, I'm just tired. Too tired to stay angry. After Emily left that evening, I sat alone in our apartment, my apartment now, and thought about the past 2.5 years. All that work, all that sacrifice, all those sleepless nights and aching muscles and constant exhaustion. For what? But as I sat there, I realized something unexpected. I wasn't sorry I'd done it. Yes, my marriage was over. Yes, I'd been betrayed by the person I trusted most. But I had kept my word. I had made Emily's dream come true, even under circumstances I never could have imagined when I first made that promise. More importantly, I had learned something about myself. I was capable of more than I'd ever thought possible. I could work 3 jobs and still function. I could save $8,000 in less than 2 years. I could plan a complex international vacation down to the last detail. I could even find the strength to forgive someone who had broken my heart. Patricia Wilson called me the next week to thank me again for the trip and to apologize for Emily's behavior. Brandon, honey, I don't know what got into that girl, she said through tears. Robert and I are just sick about this whole thing. You're the best son-in-law we could have asked for. Thank you, Patricia. That means a lot. If there's anything we can do. There isn't, I said gently. But I appreciate the offer. Robert got on the phone briefly to echo his wife's sentiments, and then Patricia came back on. Brandon, I have to ask. Did you know? When you gave us that trip, did you already know about what Emily was doing? Yes, I said simply. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. So you spent all that money, worked all those jobs, knowing that your marriage was ending? Yes. Why? I had to think about how to explain it. Because I had made you a promise. Because you and Robert deserve to see Paris. Because some things are more important than my personal disappointment. You're a remarkable young man, Patricia said, her voice breaking. Emily doesn't deserve you. Emily deserves to be happy, I replied. We both do. Sometimes that just means being happy apart. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Emily at the grocery store. She looked good, healthier, more relaxed than I'd seen her in years. She was alone, buying ingredients for what looked like a single-person dinner. Hi, Brandon, she said almost shyly. I am. How are you doing? I'm okay. Better. I'm seeing a therapist trying to figure out why I made such a mess of everything. That's good. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. How about you? Are you dating anyone? I smiled. Not yet. But I'm thinking about it. I joined a hiking club, actually. Meet some interesting people there. That sounds nice. She paused, shifting her weight from foot to foot. Brandon, I need you to know something. Kevin never left his wife. When his project ended and he went back to Chicago, he just disappeared. Stopped returning my calls, blocked me on social media. I think he panicked when he realized I was serious about leaving you for him. I'm sorry, Emily. That must have been hard. It was. But it was also a wake-up call. I realized that I had thrown away something real for something that was never going to last. We stood there for a moment, 2 people who had once promised to love each other forever, now making awkward small talk in the cereal aisle. Do you ever think about what might have happened if I hadn't found out? I asked. If you had gone through with leaving me for him? Emily considered this. I think I would have ended up alone either way. Either Kevin would have gotten cold feet like he did, or I would have realized eventually that I was with him for all the wrong reasons. What were the wrong reasons? He was exciting because he was forbidden. He paid attention to me because our time was limited and stolen. He made me feel special because I was his secret. None of that would have survived in the real world, with real responsibilities and everyday problems. I nodded. Probably not. You know what the crazy thing is? Emily continued. That trip to Europe, those 10 days with my parents, they were some of the happiest days of my life. And the whole time I kept thinking about how you made it possible. Even after everything I'd done to hurt you, you still gave me that gift. It wasn't really a gift, I said. It was a promise I needed to keep. To who? To myself, I guess. I wanted to prove that I could be the kind of person who follows through no matter what. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I miss that about you. I miss being married to someone with that kind of integrity. You'll find it again, Em. Maybe not with me, but with someone. Will I? Sometimes I think I used up my chance at real love. That's not how love works, I told her. There's not a limited supply. You just have to be ready for it when it comes, and you have to be honest about what you want. What do you want, Brandon? I thought about it. I want to sleep 8 hours a night. I I want weekends off. I want to go hiking in the mountains and maybe learn to cook something fancier than grilled cheese. I want to find someone who wants those same simple things. That sounds perfect, Emily said wistfully. It will be when the time is right. We said goodbye in the parking lot, and I watched her drive away, knowing it would probably be the last time we'd have a real conversation. There was a strange sense of closure in that moment, like a chapter of my life that had been left open was finally ending. A year later, I did meet someone through the hiking club. Her name is Rachel, and she's a librarian who loves old movies and terrible puns. She thinks it's romantic that I worked 3 jobs to make my ex-wife's dreams come true, even though it ended badly. She also thinks I'm an idiot for not taking better care of myself in the process. "Promise me something," she said on our 6th date as we were sitting by a campfire after a day of hiking. "Promise me that if you ever decide to make grand romantic gestures for me, you'll include yourself in the plan." "What do you mean?" "I mean that next time you want to make someone's dreams come true, make sure your own dreams are part of the package. A relationship should lift both people up, not require one person to sacrifice everything for the other." I promised and I meant it. Emily's parents still send me Christmas cards. Patricia always includes a note about how grateful they are for that European vacation, how the photos from that trip are displayed prominently in their living room, how they tell everyone about their son-in-law who worked 3 jobs to make their dreams come true. I never correct her about the son-in-law part. As far as I'm concerned, some relationships transcend legal definitions. Last Christmas, Patricia's note included an update on Emily. She was engaged to a man named Thomas, a teacher at the local elementary school. They'd met in Emily's therapy group and bonded over their shared commitment to honest communication and personal growth. "He's a good man," Patricia wrote. "Not as generous as you perhaps, but solid and dependable. I think Emily has finally learned to appreciate those qualities." I was genuinely happy to read that news. Emily deserved a second chance at love, and it sounded like she was approaching it more wisely this time. As for me, I'm still working at Henderson's Auto Repair, but just the one job now. I bought a small house on the outskirts of town with some of the money I saved during my 3-job marathon money that was supposed to be for home improvements after the European vacation, back when I thought Emily and I had a future to plan together. The house has a big backyard where I'm learning to garden, and a front porch where I sit with Rachel on Sunday mornings, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper. It's a quiet life, maybe even a boring life by some standards, but it's mine. Sometimes people ask me if I regret giving Emily and her parents that expensive vacation, knowing what I know now. The question always surprises me because the answer is so obviously no. That trip wasn't really about Emily, though I didn't understand that at the time. It was about proving to myself that I could set a seemingly impossible goal and achieve it through sheer determination and hard work. It was about honoring my commitments even when circumstances changed. It was about learning that I was capable of forgiveness, even in the face of profound betrayal. Most importantly, it was about discovering that the person I am, someone who keeps promises, who works hard for the people he loves, who chooses kindness even when he's been hurt, is someone worth being. Emily took a lot of things with her when she left. My trust, my dreams of growing old together, my belief that love conquers all obstacles. But she couldn't take away the man I discovered I was during those 22 months of working 3 jobs. That man was strong enough to earn $8,000 through sheer determination. Strong enough to plan a perfect vacation down to the last detail. Strong enough to give the woman who betrayed him one last beautiful memory with her parents. And eventually strong enough to love again. 6 months ago, Rachel and I started talking about taking a trip together. Nothing as elaborate as that European vacation, just a long weekend in the mountains, maybe some camping and hiking. But as we made our plans, I found myself getting excited about travel in a way I hadn't since before the divorce. "You know what?" Rachel said as we were looking at photos of potential campsites, "I think we should go to Paris sometime. I've always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower." My first instinct was to recoil from the suggestion. Paris was Emily's dream, Emily's city, tied up with memories I'd rather not revisit. But then I thought about it more carefully. Why should Emily's betrayal ruin one of the world's most beautiful cities for me? Why should I let her mistakes limit my future experiences? "You know what?" I said, pulling Rachel closer to me on the couch. "I think that's a great idea. But when we go, we're doing it right. Good hotels, nice restaurants, maybe even spring for a guide to show us around the Louvre." "That sounds expensive," Rachel said, though she was smiling. "I'm good at saving money when I put my mind to it," I told her. "And this time, I'm including both of us in the budget." Last week I opened a new savings account. Not for anyone else's dreams this time, but for dreams that Rachel and I are building together. I'm only working one job now, so it will take longer to save up for our Paris trip. But that's okay. Good things are worth waiting for, and even better when they're shared with the right person. Emily never thanked me for that European vacation, not really. Her parents did, repeatedly and profusely, but Emily herself seemed too overwhelmed by guilt and confusion to express genuine gratitude. I understand why, and I don't hold it against her. But sometimes, late at night when Rachel is asleep beside me in our shared bed, I think about those photos that Patricia mentioned, the ones displayed prominently in the Wilson family living room. Pictures of Emily and her parents standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, smiling on the Spanish Steps in Rome, raising glasses of sangria in a Barcelona cafe. In those photos they look happy. Genuinely, completely happy in a way that money can't buy but that love can make possible. I gave them that happiness. Not because they deserved it, not because they earned it, not because I expected anything in return. I gave it to them because I had promised I would, and because keeping that promise was more important to me than protecting myself from disappointment. That's the real gift I gave myself during those 22 months of working 3 jobs. Not the money I saved or the trip I planned, but the knowledge that I am someone who keeps his word no matter what. And that knowledge, unlike a marriage or a bank account or even a beautiful vacation, is something that can never be taken away from me. Thank you for listening to my story. If you had a similar experience, share it in the comments. And also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.